Bowling with the Theft.
I encourage you to get fast.
Your bowling stories.
For all things the game of bowling.
Every week.
Helping bowlers.
The hand collapses down.
Live.
And I'm going to try to bowl the best I can.
2,000 subscribers. 2,000 subscribers.
And I want to challenge Ken Nelson.
Tom Corbett.
Jason Belmonte.
Let's do this. This is Bowling with the Pfaff.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday night with Bowling with the Pfaff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. Back in the saddle with another regular episode after, you could say, kind of a week off. We'll explain a little about that as we go, but always good to be back. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and are enjoying the week after, right? Easy for me to say. It's sometimes tough to get back into the swing of things, but a regular week means probably some regular league bowling in your life, and I hope you're scoring terrifically as you return to the lanes after what could have been a Thanksgiving break. Now, even though my league takes a Thanksgiving break, I do not. I run down to suburban Milwaukee for an event called the Pfafftacular. And I want to give a big thank you to the Serbskis Club and the crew at Village Bowl in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, for keeping the Pfafftacular tradition alive. And what a time we had at Pfafftacular 3. The night before Thanksgiving, Serbskis did what they've done the previous 2 years, and that is win salsa. The doctor, John Werkela, led the team with a 698 series, but Dominic Leet, the Dominator, went from a 148 start to a 619 with a 266 in game 3. Serbskis takes home the 6-pack of Chip Magnet Salsa by defeating Rich Miller's Pro Shop. And it isn't too soon to mention that the night before Thanksgiving in 2025 is Wednesday, November 26th. Hopefully we'll have Pfafftacular 4 on that date. Well, another tournament live stream is coming your way very soon, and we've got a little bit of late breaking news, you could say, about that. I'm talking about the Med City Holiday Weekend and the Rochester Holiday Match Games, at least the adult version. Al Houston, who has a hand in organizing those events, posted on Facebook today the patterns will be released roughly a week before the event. He says, expect a medium to long 2 to 2.5 to 1 ratio pattern. So we don't know exactly what the pattern is just yet. I think he's building some suspense there, but we'll see. It's always a great event. And this year, as we did last year, we're coming back to live stream it again. It's the Adult Holiday Match Games, Saturday, December 21st, 2024. You'll see live coverage right here on the channel, from the first shift of qualifying all the way through to the finals. Trey Henriksmeyer won last year's event, if you remember. He also took the youth event the next day for good measure. This is the fourth jewel in the 10K Larson Siding, Windows, and Roofing quintuple crown. So far, here are the champions. You've got William Jones winning the Southway Open in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Matt Payne taking the Champions Pro Shop Open in Owatonna, Minnesota, another event that you saw live streamed right here on Bowling with the Pfaff. The Lacrosse Open was won by Tom Hess. And then you've got the Holiday Match Games coming up later this month, and a TBA event, which is now called the J. Mose Bowl Open, and that will be on February 1st of 2025. So a lot of great bowling action. Josh Kennedy is the points leader going into Rochester, and I believe he is on the roster for that one. So hoping to extend his lead and get some extra cash by the end of that tournament series. Always a great one, and certainly looking forward to live streaming that event coming up later this month. In the meantime, I hope you'll support Bowling with the Pfaff with a vote in this year's Volume 1 Best of the Chippewa Valley Reader Poll. If you go to bit.ly/vote BWTF2025, you'll get to the best local podcast category. And I hope you'll put the check mark next to Bowling with the Pfaff. This is kind of a newspaper that you'd see coming out of a grocery store that is circulated in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and the surrounding area. It runs through December 5th or December 6th. So you've got 4 more days. Results are usually published in February. And a big thank you in advance for those who have already supported Bowling with the Fef in this, and those of you who will vote for Bowling with the Fef. Always appreciate that. Also appreciate our sponsors, Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply inside Wagner's Lanes. You can contact him at 715-559-1822. He is the Chippewa Valley's leader in all bowling-related products, coaching. If you need it, and it has to do with the game of bowling, Jerry's got it. Also, we have another longtime sponsor of the show.
Handmade salsa is great, but it's such a hassle. Cutting yourself, the constant waiting, burning yourself. Oh, look at that mess. Raise your snack standards. Chip Magnet Salsa.
Nobody wants to burn themselves making a pot of salsa. Let Chip Magnet do the heavy lifting for you. And if you go to chipmagnetsalsa.com and order at least $30 worth of product, enter this promo code at checkout, BWTF2024. You get 25% off your purchase thanks to the fine folks at Chip Magnet. Chip Magnet Salsa. Raise your snack standards. Great to see Flush in the Pocket podcast. Derek Michaud hanging out with us live. If you are on live like Derek, be sure to make use of that live chat. You can chime in, say hello, ask questions. It's great stuff. And if you're watching on replay, be sure to leave a comment. I do see them all eventually. Hope to get back to you as soon as I can. Well, our guest tonight is the newish executive director of Bowlers to Veterans Link, an organization with a partnership with the PBA and decades of history. BVL, according to its website, has raised north of $57 million and helped more than 5.3 million veterans with service-related disabilities since it was founded back in 1942. Jessica Abel is the newish executive director. She's from Broad Albin, New York, and she is joining us tonight in an episode that we are calling Help for Heroes. Jessica, welcome to Bowling with the Fef.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate having you. I got to ask, first of all, I know this is a bowling show, but after scrolling through your Facebook a little bit, I noticed that you're a Buffalo Bills fan. And I am a guy who would never, turn away, from my Green Bay Packers. But if I'm not cheering for the Packers, I'm cheering for the Bills. And this is a great time to be a Bills fan, isn't it?
It is a great time. I married into being a Bills fan, so I would like to say that I didn't live through those really hard years back in the early 90s. I was not a Bills fan there. To be honest, I really didn't follow the NFL a whole lot. I've always been a college football fan. Go Ohio State, which that's sad to say this week. But yeah, I married into being a Bills fan. It is a great time to be a Bills fan. I think it's hard not to root for them. Just Josh Allen doing great things, the whole team. So I'm hoping that maybe this is our year.
This could be the year. Yeah. No,
but I don't mind the Packers. My dad's a Packers fan, so I will cheer for the Packers if I need to. But if they're going against the Bills, absolutely not.
Right. See, and I'm the opposite. I'll cheer for the Bills anytime unless they're going against the Packers. So, we're kind of opposites, or kind of the same in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But football is fun, even if you're way into bowling. Now, many of us are familiar with BVL only because it's mentioned in PBA Tour telecasts. However, there must be some things that we need to know about the organization that don't come up in those little 15-second spots. So, what can you tell us about BVL that we should really know when we think of that organization?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we like to say we're bowling's best kept secret, but we don't want to be a secret anymore.
Yeah.
We're bowling's oldest and pretty much the only charity. There is Bowl for the Cure. And, there's some other charities, but we've been around since 1942. So really kind of a cool story how it got started. The women bowlers in the United States, they wanted to find a way to help their fathers, their husbands, their sons that were fighting during World War II. So they started collecting pennies, and they collected enough pennies to buy 2 commuter airplanes to start bringing the troops home.
Wow.
Which every time I say that, I get goosebumps, because to think that they were gathering pennies and they raised enough to do that in the 40s is absolutely incredible. So that's how BVL was born. The men at the time decided they also wanted to help out, because at that time it obviously wasn't USBC. We had WIBC and ABC, and at that time I don't even know if that's what they truly were. But they wanted to help too, so they started raising funds the following year and were able to send care packages to the troops. So that's how we got started. We've been going strong ever since. Like you said, we have raised over $57 million since 1942, helping the veterans and active duty military of our country. So really just an incredible organization that we are really trying to raise awareness about. A lot of people still don't know about BBL, even within the bowling community. So the PBA Tour has certainly helped. We became the official charity of the PBA Tour back in 2023. So that's certainly been helpful. As you said, a lot of people are seeing it that way. We're featuring a vet on every telecast, just trying to honor them. So that's been very helpful, kind of getting the word out. But yeah, we do so many great things for our veterans, and they're so deserving. So we're really just trying to create awareness.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And what a great story about the pennies that eventually became commuter planes. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't care what generation you're in.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I think that's one of the things, people, when they think about, okay, when a bowling center comes to us or a USBC association and they're like, how can we help? I think sometimes they get a little overwhelmed because they're like, oh, we have to have this huge fundraiser. And it's like, no, this started collecting pennies. If you even just go around to your bowling center and you get $1 from every single person, the impact that can have is absolutely incredible. No donation is too small. And really every penny counts.
Yeah, for sure. So when you think of BVL, the first person that comes to mind for me is Johnny Petraglia, because he's the spokesperson for BVL.
Mhm.
And so I had to reach out somehow, right? I don't know Johnny personally, but I do know someone he knows. And, through a roundabout way, I did get him on the phone and I asked him, what he thinks of your first few months in the job.
Oh,
So
God.
what
Putting me
he
on the spot here.
yeah, what he told me was everything I've dealt with her, being on the phone or sent back and forth, for instance, when a check comes in and goes to her that somebody made a donation, or if we need things like literature, she's been spot on. That's, high praise from a legend in the
He
sport
is
and
a
a legend
legend.
from BVL. Tell me about, have you known JP before you took on this role, or are you just getting to know him now?
Oh, so Johnny and I had met many years ago. So my husband actually bowled on tour back when I was in college, so the mid 2000s. And he spent a lot of time with the Bones, which Johnny is very close with Parker and Leslie and their family. So we had definitely met. I had also spent some time on Brunswick's regional staff back in college as well. So I had met Johnny, but didn't really have a relationship. So, and I had gotten out of the bowling industry for a while. So we just kind of circled back. In fact, I don't even know if Johnny remembers that we met prior to this. But he's one of those people. He's so kind, and he's such a great ambassador for the sport and for BVL. And he's one of those that, he makes you feel like you've known him forever. But yeah, so I had previously met Johnny, but he's so great to all of us. We're so thankful to have him as our BVL ambassador.
Yeah. And you can hear the passion that he has for this organization and just speaking to him for a short time. Another thing, that he said, you're energetic, very nice. And he said the one time that you were together, the first time you met each other, he says, was not too long ago at the big fundraiser in Washington, D.C. And everything went fine that day. He said you gave a speech to all the people there that were donating and really did a fine job. And I wanted to ask you about where your passion for veterans and helping veterans who are who maybe didn't have the greatest outcome in service, but now could really use a hand. Where does that passion come from?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I mean, the passion definitely stems from bowling. So I grew up in the bowling industry. My father was a proprietor for over 30 years. So I grew up in the bowling industry. That's where my passion lied. That's what I loved. And I had worked in the bowling industry most of my life. And then after I had our son in 2017, I got out of the bowling industry because we made a move across the country. So really, even though my father is a veteran, my grandfather's a veteran, I didn't know a ton about BVL. I had served on my local USBC board in Wichita, Kansas when we lived there. So I knew a little bit about what BVL did. However, my passion really brought me to BVL through bowling. So when I was ready to make a change and get back into the bowling industry, it just so happened that BVL was looking for a new executive director. And so that's what brought me to it. But just in my short time, I started at the beginning of July, and it really opens your eyes to what, we have nearly 16 million veterans in our country. And some of them, they don't necessarily need the services, like my father, for example. But there's so many that do, that are really struggling and really need our support. So it's really it's been an easy charity to fall in love with, just because the need is so high.
Yeah. Yeah. You are here because of an off the sheet challenge from Louis Benavides. I want to play part of that that he spoke about you in back a few episodes ago. Take a listen.
She worked with me when I was at USBC. She taught me how to turn my computer on, and she'll tell you that. Heck of a girl, great mom, great wife, neat person.
So don't all computers have like a power button on the tower or on the unit? I mean, is there a story behind that?
You would think so. Louis and I met. I was working for the International Bowling Campus in the youth department as a youth development specialist. So I had the Midwest territory, and basically we traveled all throughout our territory and tried to grow bowling at the grassroots level. So Louis came on, and I was in charge of training Louis for his first couple of trips. Let's just say he struggled to turn his computer on, so I was able to help him with that. And that, that was the easy part, but we just had the best of times, and truly got a lifelong friend out of that. So there's not many people more passionate about bowling than Louis is. He does such great things in raising awareness with Bowlers Ed and all that goes along with that. So yeah, he did struggle with his computer doing his reports, but we were able to help him out and get him on the right track.
Yeah. He made me think that you've got, a lot of stories to tell, because he mentioned that you tricked him at Junior Gold.
Oh.
Is there anything behind that?
I'm trying to think. Junior Gold. Honestly, those times I was so delirious because we were working nearly 20-hour days at Junior Gold. And anyone that has worked Junior Gold knows how long those days are. I don't necessarily remember anything at Junior Gold. We did have a lot of wonderful memories. We went on a couple trips together, and I don't know if we spent more time laughing than we did, helping people grow bowling. It was probably pretty equal. But yeah, we have a lot of great memories together. It's been awesome to get back into the bowling industry and connect with people like Louis, who, I hadn't had a chance to connect with in many years.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to bring a dog on an airplane? He said that your dog doesn't do well on planes.
It's so funny because he texted me this morning and he was like, make sure that you give the dog some airtime. So I sent him a picture of my dog. I have a Chihuahua mix. His name is Junior. I thought that Junior, this is when we were still living in Kansas, and we were coming to visit my husband's family for Christmas one year, that Junior could make the plane ride to New York. But I was miserably wrong. I knew that he would be very nervous. So I had went to the vet. I had got him the medication to calm him down. I got to the airport and he would not stop yelping. So needless to say, they would not let me board the flight with my dog. Had to have some friends come to the rescue and take the dog at the last minute. But Lewis just thought that was so funny. And I was so upset that I couldn't take the dog. So yeah, Lewis, he has a place in his heart for my dog.
Yeah. And he does for you too. He says you've been extremely successful in anything you've done on and off the lanes. I feel like we all kind of know someone like that who just seems to be pretty good at just about everything they try. That's kind of a tough standard to uphold, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how true that is, but I do appreciate the kind of words. If you would see me on the golf course, you would not agree that I'm extremely successful in anything that I do, but I do try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a little bit of a perfectionist in a sense, and I do have high expectations for myself. So, I do try to give it my all with anything I do, but as far as extremely successful in everything I do, I don't know about that, but I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying that you were kind of born into bowling and the bowling business through your father, and was
Yeah.
was that something that took a while to kind of get you into, attach itself to you, or were you a bowler from the jump?
So my father bought his bowling center when I was 4.
Mhm.
And right off the bat, I didn't love bowling. So, oddly enough, my father owned a public golf course and then he bought the bowling center as well. So we had a golf course and the bowling center at the same time. I had zero interest in golf at the time. My dad was trying really hard to get me to bowl. And at the age that I was, the league that I would have to bowl was early in the morning on Saturdays. And I had zero interest in getting up early. So it definitely took a couple of years until I could move up to that middle range and I could sleep in a little bit. And before I started going to league. But from that point forward, the bowling bug just kind of bit me. And it became my life from there. And I was very fortunate. My father took me to any tournament that I wanted to bowl and really invested in trying to make me the best bowler that, I could be or I wanted to be. So yeah, from there was just bowling a lot of youth tournaments. And then I went on to bowl at Wichita State. So
Okay.
kind of grew up bowling and then went there to bowl collegiately.
Sure. Now, you're originally from Springfield, Ohio?
Yes.
Okay. And when I think of Springfield, Ohio, as many in
We're
the
on the
bowling,
map now. I no longer have to explain it.
as many in the bowling
Yeah.
community do, we think of Chris Vi. Did you guys ever cross paths as juniors?
I hope you don't have the picture that I hope you haven't went through the archives with that. No. So Chris actually, I used to drive Chris to bowling practice. So he's a couple years younger than me. We went to the same high school. So yeah, we do go way back and we're still friends. So yeah, I've known Chris since he was a little guy. So
Yeah. How
yeah.
cool has that been for you to see this incredible run he's had, winning the US Open and 300 on television, all that great stuff that he's done
Yeah.
in his bowling career?
It's been absolutely incredible because thinking back, so now obviously Chris is like this superstar in the bowling world, right? But I knew Chris when he was younger, and believe it or not, there was a time that I was actually better than Chris at bowling and had a lot of connections in the bowling world. So I remember introducing him to some of the pros. Just that I knew through bowling and through my husband and just bowling collegiately. So it's been really cool to watch that evolve because now he is a superstar in the bowling world. And he truly he's just such a kind individual, and he's just a really great person in general. So it's been so much fun. I'm definitely always rooting for him.
Yeah. Great interview too, as we found out a little earlier in my run. We had him on the show, and he did
Oh, that's awesome.
so.
Yeah, we actually just we're teaming up our high school. Unfortunately, our local high school, the bowling team there suffered a loss of one of their team members recently in a very tragic accident. So Chris and I were able to get together and kind of donate some balls back to the bowling program that they can raffle off to raise funds for that family. So we've been in contact recently, but I'm always in his corner cheering for him.
That's cool. Yeah. Kudos to both of you for doing that, because you kind of find out the character in people when tough things happen. And for you guys to do that is pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. And, I don't get to give back to my high school bowling program or high school in general, just because I'm not in the area anymore. So anything like that we can, get together and do, we feel good about doing that and want to help out as much as we can.
Okay. Looks like you've already been offered to be on another podcast. Derek wants to know if you'd like to be on his show as well, Flush in the Pocket. Maybe you can talk about that offline. But, I love that he's come on with 2 different screen names. That's awesome. All right. Tell me about the junior program you were in. I know it was early on Saturday mornings, but eventually you get into it. And was it one of those really robust, big junior programs with a lot of talent and a lot of competition?
I would say it was kind of middle of the road. It was in a very small town outside of Springfield called Urbana, Ohio, which a lot of people are probably familiar with Urbana now because Graham Faw bowls out of that center. That was my dad's center for many years that he just sold. So, it was a middle of the road youth program. There was some decent competition for sure. But I think as things progressed, I was always kind of looking for more. So that's where we spent a lot of the weekends traveling to the JTBAs around Ohio, the MJMAs in Michigan. There weren't many weekends that we weren't on the road, just, prepping for junior gold, teen masters at the time, all of that. So we spent a lot of time traveling. Like I said, just really fortunate that my dad was in the position to do that. And I was able to gain a lot of experience that way and meet a lot of people. I think that's been the best part, is just the community. The bowling community is so tight knit and it's such a small world. So I'll be forever grateful for all of those connections, the people that I made during those times.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool stuff. When you think back on those highly competitive junior events that you mentioned, what do you think you learned the most? What do you think you gained the most from, I imagine, getting into, tournaments with people who were a little better than you and realizing you got to kind of pump it up to, to match their level?
Yeah, definitely. I remember going to, my dad was always a believer that, you had to bowl against the best competition, sometimes if you weren't even ready for it. And I remember one year he took me to Team USA trials in Reno, and I was pretty far from being, at the level that I should even be there. And I remember bowling like a 132 the first game, and I was just so devastated. But I think that's when you learn the most, right? You learn the most from failing and realize that, hey, if I want to do this and I want to take this seriously, like I've got a lot of work to do. And, I need to get to work on that. So, I was really fortunate that my dad got me some great coaching and I had a lot of people helping me out. But yeah, it's looking back, I wish maybe not that I wouldn't have taken it so seriously, because I am glad that I took it seriously, but I wish maybe I wouldn't have been as hard on myself or had my expectations be as high. Because it is hard. I think at the end of the day, just knowing that you're doing your best and your best is all that you can do, right? So would I change it? No, because it's definitely made me who I am today. But I think just looking back, it would have been like, okay, that 6-game block was not life or death, right? So looking back, there's a lot more than bowling, but I'm so thankful that that was part of my journey.
Yeah. And I think it helps when you can look back and have the benefit of hindsight and realize that a lot of these bowlers go through the same struggles that you did or that I did. And I think it makes it seem a little more okay, even if it doesn't feel okay in the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it it's really hard to make it feel okay in the moment, especially when you're that age. Now I think it's a little bit easier because my perspective has changed. But you know, I think my expectations were so high and I put so much pressure on myself. And even to this day, you know, I'm sidelined with an injury right now that's kept me off the lanes for, gosh, almost getting close to a year. But even now, you know, I still put pressure on myself and it's like, why? Like, you know, I'm out there with my friends, you know, bowling the open championships or the women's championships. And occasionally, you know, I'll bowl the queens if the timing works out. But it's not life or death, right? Like there's so many bigger things out there. And you know, bowling isn't what I do for a living. So I think it's just like, it's okay to just go out there and enjoy it. But I was so competitive for so many years that it's hard to not have high expectations because I know what I was once capable of, but
yeah, for sure.
priorities have changed.
Right. Yeah, as they do for many of us. But I mean, those, you know, those days where you were competing and you were winning got you to Wichita State, one of the greatest collegiate programs in the country. How
Yeah.
did that happen? Did they come to you? Did you go to them?
So again, my dad took me to a camp at Wichita State. And when I was at the camp, they approached me, you know, about coming to Wichita State. So at that time, I was looking at a couple different schools. I had went on a trip to Nebraska to take a look at, you know, the campus there. I was talking to Vanderbilt a little bit, and this was before Vanderbilt is what it is now. That was when Josie was just getting started because Josie Barnes and I are about the same age, or we might be the exact same age. So I was looking there, and then, you know, Wichita approached me, and I just really fell in love with the program there, and truly felt like Gordon Vatican and Mark Lewis were my best opportunity to get to that next level.
Yeah. Gordon's another one who has come on the show, and he is one of those coaches, along with a couple others, but that when I talk to him, I feel like I want to get on the lanes and compete for him. I want to win for him. Even though I'm sitting here in my 40s, I still have a year of eligibility. But anyway, what was the coaching like, and you know, compared to maybe what you were used to back home?
Mm-hmm. It was on a whole different level. So Mark Lewis focused on our physical games, and then Gordon focused on our mental games, which was definitely something that I hadn't had a lot of experience with up until that point. Every coach I had was pretty much a physical game coach. So it was just, there's truly no one like them. I'm so glad that I got to experience Wichita State in the time period that I did with those two. While I think they're in really great hands right now, I truly, in my mind, there's nobody better than Gordon Vatican and Mark Lewis. Just really special individuals. But I think that mental game training was just, I think that's what set them apart for so many years, because I can't say nobody because I only experienced Wichita State, but was doing it at the level that they did. They're just so incredibly passionate about what they were doing and teaching the athletes. And Gordon is amazing at teaching the mental games. So I think that was one of the things that really set them apart.
Yeah. One of the things that people who bowl for a particular university talk about is the fit. It was the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
When you got to Wichita, did you feel that right away, or did it take some time before you realized the fit was there?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. So honestly, when I got to Wichita State, and I think the process is still similar now, everybody has to try out. So when I was on there were no exemptions given like there are now. So everybody went through the tryout process. And I can't even begin to describe to you what that tryout process was like. It was the most grueling 3 weeks of bowling I'd ever experienced. I mean, these were patterns that you would never see anywhere else. You know, we went through a series of bowling on different patterns. They tracked everything from how many times you were hitting your target, how many times you were hitting the pocket. Like they had pages and pages of stats. So it was very in depth. And then we also had some physical training that we had to do as well. So they have a selected team and they have a developmental team. So in my mind, I'm going in thinking, oh, well, they recruited me, right? I'm going to make this selected team. Little did I know, when I was coming in 2007, they had won a national championship in 2006, and that was one of the first times they had ever had the opportunity to have the full team come back. They didn't have anybody graduate, so they had a whole national championship team to carry over. And I think I finished just outside the top 10 in tryouts, but I wasn't selected for the selected team. I was put on the developmental. And you have the option at that time to say, I don't want to accept this spot on the team because you're using a year of eligibility, right? And what they do is, you get to go to a couple tournaments, but then they also give you an associate coach. So they had people in the local Wichita bowling community, a lot of alumni that would work with the people on the developmental team. So, I kind of went back and forth. Do I want to take this spot? Do I not? I think in my mind, I thought I was better than I really was. So it was a little bit of a, it was a tough pill to swallow. Like, okay, I came here, I'm not good enough. Like, but anyways, so I decided to take that spot on the developmental team. I was actually given a really awesome associate coach, Justin Romick. So that was great. He really helped me out my freshman year. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I'm not in this position next year. So I was able to make the team the following year. I ended up having a really great season. I was an All-American. We won a national championship. So for me, that was it really solidified that I made the right choice and I had put in the work to kind of get to that next level and prove to myself that, I did deserve to be on that team. I just needed to work a little bit harder than I had been working.
Yeah. You mentioned the national championship. I mean, those of us who bowled in college, we're lucky to get a sniff of sectionals, maybe ITC, but to win a national championship, I mean, was there a moment or a favorite memory of that season that you kind of hold with you a little tighter than the rest?
There's a lot. I'll try not to tear up right now because I do think Melissa Hurst was on that team, which Melissa Peters, we've since lost Melissa to cancer. So sharing those memories with her, she was a real leader on that team. Just thinking back, there's so many things that have to go right in a season and at nationals for a national championship to happen, right? You really just have to have so many things go your way. You can be the best team there and it still doesn't work out, right? At that national championship, we went undefeated onto the TV show and won the national championship. And Rocio Restrepo was our anchor that week. And I can't tell you how many times she doubled in the 10th for us to win a match. So it was really cool. A lot of things went our way, but we had a really special group that I'm really lucky that I got to share that with. So yeah, shout out to my 2009 national championship team.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, you get the national championship. You mentioned All-American. How cool was that whole college experience? I know it's tough to, kind of smash it together into a 30-second answer, but I mean, Wichita State national championship, All-American. That's great stuff that, as I said before, not all of us even get close to experiencing.
Yeah, you really can't put it into words. You kind of hold on to that feeling, but I think what makes it so special too is, you work all year for that and you spend so much time with those people on your team and you get so close with them. So to really just see all those efforts and all those things you've worked towards that whole season come together, is just indescribable. I'm always so happy when I watch that show every year and see those champions get crowned because you know what they're feeling. And I truly don't think there's anything more fun than college bowling. Like you can never replicate that. I love team bowling. But college bowling definitely takes the cake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there are varied opinions on that, but those of us who are a part of it, you kind of have to be a part of it to know,
Exactly.
how special it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So along with the team atmosphere, you've done quite a few individual things as well in the adult ranks. 2012 US Women's Open, you unleashed that strike ball for a perfect 300 game at the National Bowling Stadium in Reno. What do you remember from that performance, and how did that event end up for you?
I actually don't remember how the event ended up. I know I was disappointed with the finish. That was I had been working really hard at my game during that time. So when I got done with college, there was no women's tour. There was just the Queens, the US Open. So had there been a women's tour, I would have absolutely went after that, but it just wasn't there at the time. So I decided I was going to make the most of what there was to bowl. And at that time, we didn't have any kids. It was just like, okay, I work at the bowling center. I'm going to start working on my game a lot. So I was working with Rick Steelsmith. He was coaching me at that time, just working a lot on my game. And I was kind of on a high. I think the week or a couple of weeks before that, I had bowled a regional and I had beat like Sean Rash in one of the rounds and made it to the round of 4. So I was bowling really well at the time. It's funny though, leading up to that 300 game, it was a higher scoring US Open, but I think that may have been the only 300. It was hard to carry, but the game prior to that, I think I had bowled like 2-teen, just 9 spare. So it was kind of like I got back all those hits that I didn't get the game before. So that was really cool. My dad happened to be there because Bowl Expo was going on at the same time. So just for him to be there and witness that at the US Open, that was just a really special moment for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's on YouTube. You'll be able to,
it is on YouTube. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah, cool.
Yep,
stuff.
absolutely.
So tell me about this team that you bowled on called Husker Shocks.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so that is my women's championships team. The team is myself, Deandra Asbady, Emily Fagan, and Adrienne Hare, which many of them probably know as Adrienne Miller. So we bowl women's nationals together now for, quite some time. They're a really special group because we just have so much fun bowling. Deandra's my doubles partner. Emily and I met at Wichita State. So you couldn't find a better picture than that.
How about that?
No.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay.
That's actually at Emily Fagan's wedding.
Oh. Okay.
So, they're just such a fun group. Like we have so much fun when we're together. I keep thinking that we're due. I'm like, it's really hard to put a team together for that tournament because they're 4-member teams and you can only have one person with a card. So, there's so many women with cards now that it makes it really difficult. So we get kind of lucky and I'm like, we're due one of these years. So we've had some great runs. I don't know if it still stands. We did have the highest team game in the history of the tournament. I don't know if we did it in Reno a couple of years ago. I don't know if that still stands, but yeah, we've had some really great times together. So they're a fun group that I really enjoy bowling with. We had to miss this last year because of my injury. So I'm hoping that we'll be back this year.
Yeah.
Well, 2025.
When I saw that Deandra was on that team, of course I had to reach out, right? And she told me what I love the most about bowling is that it brought me beautiful friends like Jess. She said you've been special to her. She stood up in your wedding. You celebrated the Hall of Fame induction that she recently had, the USBC Hall of Fame. She says you're the friend that laughs at the most inappropriate times and will be there for you at any moment of any day. And those are, those are great things, and she just has a way with words, but
absolutely,
when she's putting stuff out there like that about you, that it's sincere and it's meaningful, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I love most about bowling is the people that it's brought me. Someone like Dee, we connected back when I was 15, I think. I randomly reached out to her, sent her an email to ask her to bowl an adult youth tournament with me, and she said yes. And so from there, we became friends, and yeah, she was in my wedding. We try to get together as much as we can. Of course, not as much as we would like to, but we're actually getting together next weekend in New York City for a fun little weekend. Deandra and her husband, John, and John Janowitz, were all meeting for a fun little weekend in New York City. We try to do a yearly trip together. So next weekend is the trip.
Awesome. Well,
yeah,
have fun. Tell both of them I said hello, because
I will. Yeah, JJ told me he's been on a couple times.
Oh yeah. Yep, he has. And I reached out to him too, I gotta bring that up.
Oh my gosh, you really dug deep.
I tried, he said that you're one of his favorite people on the planet. How did you guys meet? How did you become friends?
So Wichita State, when I was bowling at Wichita, they would do all of these things called ed sessions. So they would bring in like industry professionals to teach us about different things. They would bring in JJ for lane play. They would bring in Fred Borden at the time to work on our physical games. They would bring in fitness coaches. So all these different people. So JJ came and would do a presentation on behalf of Kegel on how to, do lane play. And it just so happened, I don't know if he invited me to dinner one night or something. He was going to dinner. So we became quick friends, and that was probably in the fall of 2007. So yeah, we've just been friends ever since. We go on a lot of adventures together. So we've had a lot of great times, and then him and Deandra are really good friends. And of course, her and I are good friends. So it just kind of, we're like a little trio that travels around together. So I always enjoy my time with JJ. He actually, because he won the BVL, we normally have a PBA 50 event, and JJ was the winner of that event last year. So I invited him to DC for our Veterans Day festivities that we have, which oddly enough, we were having Bill Moore, who has a PBA 50 show in his basement, which JJ won as well this year in his, player of the year season. He was having an event there. So he said, well, if you bring JJ, I'll get a banner and hang his shirt up for winning the tournament at my house. So JJ came and was able to celebrate that. So he just came to DC a couple weekends ago. I was able to see him.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And look at this. Don't worry, Jess. Deandra says she saved all the questionable photos for her.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I'm just glad she's watching.
Yeah, hello.
That's fantastic. So the timing is good, though, because I think she'll get a kick out of this. I hope she'll get a kick out of this. John wanted me to ask you how you like the edible balloons you had last year.
So the edible balloons, this is so cool. So JJ's just really good at celebrating his friends and making sure they know how loved they are by JJ. So after Deandra got inducted into the Hall of Fame, we both went to see her induction in Vegas. And shortly after that, he was like, I think we really need to celebrate her on another level. It just, it's the Hall of Fame. Like, that deserves more than us going out to Vegas and celebrating that. So he's like, I'd really like to get together and go to a really nice restaurant, and we'll celebrate her. So we ended up surprising her, which was very difficult to do. Last November, we surprised her in Chicago, and we went to a restaurant called Alinea, which is a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Chicago that, oddly enough, her husband used to work at many years ago.
Oh, wow.
But we surprised her and met her there for the night. And at the end of the meal, kind of the specialty at Alinea is they bring out these edible balloons that are filled with helium, and you get to suck out the helium of the balloons and have fun with that. And the balloon is fully edible. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it was a really awesome experience. So
yeah,
thanks to JJ, we got to experience that.
That's really cool. And Deandra says she wouldn't miss it, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Says a lot about you too. Okay, we talked a little bit about BVL. And I want to know about kind of moving forward, because you've got kind of this small sample size so far. You've only been the director since July. And when I asked Deandra about that, she said, you do everything with your whole entire heart. And that's why BVL is going to thrive on an even higher level than it does under your lead. So I guess, where do you see this organization going in the days, weeks, months ahead?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Like I said, we are kind of bowling's best kept secret, and we don't want to be a secret anymore. I think, my first goal is to really target a younger audience with BVL. I think a lot of younger people, a lot of them don't even know what a veteran is, right? Because we haven't had to experience that. We haven't had a draft in a long time. Of course, we had some post 9/11 people, overseas fighting, but it's just a lot of them don't know what a veteran is. So I'm really making a charge to ramp up our social media presence and get the youth more involved. We do have some really awesome youth involved. One is Alexander Eby. He goes out of his way each year to do a campaign for BVL and raise money. He's a youth bowler from Ohio, actually. So we do have some youth involved, but it's really my goal is to just spread awareness. I feel like I have a lot of really great contacts in the bowling industry, and I want to use those and get our name out there. And I think it's a really easy cause to say yes to. Some people don't know it exists, right? So just really creating awareness and really building up our social media presence and making people aware of what we do. I think sometimes we do get a little trapped in the sense of we're bowlers to veterans link, right? So people think we only do bowling, where bowling is such a small portion of what we do. So we support anything that is recreation therapy for veterans. So that could be anything from music programs, it could be fly fishing, it could be skiing, it could be anything. Occasionally we will get grant requests to have a bowling event, but it's rare. Bowling is one of the few things that it's a small portion of what we do, but our funds are mainly raised through bowling. So that's where the bowling does come in. We're so very grateful for the bowling community. So I think just really, our tagline is brightening veterans' lives. And I think that says more about what we do than Bowlers to Veterans link.
Sure.
So really just getting our name out there. Like I said, we do have the campaign with the PBA Tour. We're going to be announcing soon something really exciting. We have a new spokesperson on the PBA Tour that's going to be helping us out that I think will be very helpful. And then coming up on December 28th, the Go Bowling is the title sponsor of the Military Bowl, one of the college football games. So they've allowed BVL to kind of tag on to that, and we are giving $100,000 to an organization called Patriot Point, which is a veterans retreat in Maryland, So it's really just been about creating awareness. So that's really been my charge. We did an event with the Atlanta Falcons for the NFL Salute to Service Military Appreciation Week back at the beginning of November. So that was really great to just get some vets from the local Atlanta bowling community out there with the Falcons players. So really just about creating awareness.
Yeah. One of the cool things that Johnny told me that I had no idea about when I asked him about, BVL, is he mentioned something about VR glasses or VR goggles and the impact that using them has on these veterans. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? Because like I said, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, so we've partnered with a company called Mind VR, and we have been able to fund VR glasses in over 70 veterans' homes across the country. So these VR glasses they're really special because, like Johnny said, they can really transform a veteran's life. There's a lot of things they can do with these VR goggles, but some of them, one thing they can do is say they were a fighter pilot. They can actually get back in the cockpit of a plane and experience that again with these glasses on. They can Google Earth back to Vietnam and see what it looks like today. They can Google Earth back to their childhood home and see what that looks like. So there's so many things that they can do with those outside of just, there's games they can play on there and everything like that. But it's really been a great opportunity for them to kind of heal some of their issues and get them through some of that PTSD of being able to experience those things again that they really enjoyed. So yeah, we like I said, we partnered with Mind VR. We have them in over 70 homes across the country, and that number continues to grow. Their technology keeps getting better. And then we have some, USB-C associations that, so one of the cool things about BVL is people can make donations and they can make them just to our general fund. And then we get to decide, how those funds are used for recreation therapy. It could be through grant requests that come in, or we just have some organizations that we support no matter what. But then also, your local association, bowling center, whatever it is, individual, you can raise funds and designate those. So, say that the Milwaukee USB-C raises $3,000, for example. They can say, all right, we want all 3,000 of those dollars to stay in Milwaukee, and we want them to go to the Milwaukee VA. So at that point, we're just a pass-through. They just send that money to us. We send it back, and then the Milwaukee VA can use it for recreation therapy. So what a lot of associations have done is they've designated those funds to go towards Mind VR glasses.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, they're really cool.
And to hear about the impact that can have on these veterans is just it warms your heart. It really has.
It really does. Yeah, hearing the stories, seeing the videos. I haven't got to see it in person yet, but I will in this next year, and that'll be really cool. So a lot of VAs have also been sending in grant requests for something called a Tover Toffle, which is kind of a new technology. It's something that you project onto a table, and it's like a lot of hand-eye coordination games for a lot of the veterans. That's really been helpful for them. So that's cool too. Some new technology that's coming about that we've been able to help with as well.
Yeah. So for the person out there who is seeing this and maybe doesn't have that local association that has the directed donation but still wants to contribute, how do they do that and get in touch with BVL?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go on our website at bvl.org. You can go right on there and make a donation. That's the simplest way to do that. So of course you can send in a check. All of our information is on there on, how to donate, but the website makes it really easy for you. You can just donate with a card right on the website. There's also a tab on there that we're really, it is Giving Tuesday. So I have to give us a little shameless plug here, but I'm really encouraging a lot of people to, we all have all those subscriptions that we're probably paying for, some of them that we aren't using. So I'm challenging people to go on and give us a recurring monthly donation of what you're giving Netflix. Give us 2 coffees, from your month at Starbucks. Give us $10 a month. Just go on and do that recurring donation, because the impact that can have on our veterans is truly incredible. So if we can, just get a couple more people to do something like that, that could really have a great impact on our veterans.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And, I don't want to forget to say thank you so much for what you do for these folks. I know that, when you have a job, be it nonprofit or, private sector, public sector, it, can seem like a job, like a thing that you have to do every day. But to do something that like you do, where you're making a difference, is really cool.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to say thank you to all those that have served and that make this possible. It actually doesn't feel like a job. I'm so happy to be back in the bowling industry. And I've told people since I've been back, I feel like this is the best part of the bowling industry, right? Nobody complains about helping veterans. There's no complaining about the patterns, their carry, any of that. It really is the best part of bowling. So it's been truly an honor. And I'm honored to help serve our veterans that have done so much for us.
Yeah. Mr. Jaws B says junior.
I know who that's Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That is Lewis.
Yeah.
Hi, Lewis.
Glad to see you on here, Lewis. Yeah. All right, so we're kind of heading to the end here, but I got one more thing for you. Take a look.
Let's go off the sheet. Challenge a bowler to appear on a future episode.
I would like to challenge Will Madison.
I would say Diana Zavulova.
The better Russo, Lauren Russo.
We're looking for anyone who has a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell.
All right, well, as I mentioned from the top, you're here because of an off-the-sheet challenge, so now you get to kind of pay it forward. Who do you think would make a great guest on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Well, it says in there someone that's passionate about bowling and has a unique story. I can't think of anybody that is more passionate about bowling than Mr. Brent Bowers from Wichita, Kansas. So I think that I'm sure Brent will accept the challenge. I think your viewers will really enjoy him. I know he makes some guest appearances on Packy Hanrahan's videos on YouTube, and the views are always great. Everybody loves him. I think you'd really enjoy him, and I'm sure he'll agree to the challenge.
Yeah, Brent, I was fortunate enough to have him on really
You already
early
had
in my
him?
run. But listen, a lot has happened
A
since
lot
then.
has changed. Yes.
He came on almost 4 years ago, and he had just shot his 899.
Oh my gosh.
So we talked about that at length. But yeah, he's done things for the National Bowling Stadium and back in Wichita.
You should get him back on. Brent and I go way back. We've been friends since we were teenagers. Him and his wife Kate are some of our best friends, but he's really doing a lot of great things. He's so passionate about bowling, and he recently became a proprietor. He has 2 centers now. So I think he would have a lot to share with you that you guys would enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Plenty to talk about. So, Brent, if you see this, I mean, you know where to find me. We've been in contact before. And yeah, I'd love to have you back on. That would be a neat show to kind of catch up with what you're doing, because he's doing a lot in the sport of bowling. Jessica, it has been awesome having you on. I really appreciate all that you do. And thanks for sharing your bowling story and telling us all about BVL.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure. If you do get Brent on, you can tell him. So I spent some time with him this summer. We were back in Wichita, and I'm like, Brent, I really think we need to start a podcast together. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, everybody loves listening to you. Like, it would be so much fun. So you can tell him that I'm still waiting for that podcast to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, you got your first listener right here.
Well,
I mean,
the thing with Brent is you never know what he's going to say. So I don't know. He'll be good on your live show, but I'm like, yeah, we would need to have a recorded podcast because you just never know.
Yeah. Well, most of them are. So, I mean, you've got that, but
it'd be all right.
Makes it exciting, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. But thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on here spreading the word about BVL. And, if you want to know more about BVL, definitely check out our website at bvl.org, and you can donate on there. Just find out more information. So really happy to be on here and spread the word.
Yeah, check them out. They're doing great things every day, and it is my pleasure as well. Everyone, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it, and we will see you.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Fef. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
And Jerry's Score More Bowling inside Wagner's Lane. The Eau Claire, Wisconsin area's leader in bowling supplies and services since 1988.
Email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.